The massive Empire ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Inside the ship's command center, Supreme Commander Thax watched the small blue planet on the main screen with mild interest. Another world to add to the Empire's 10,000-year reign. Preliminary scans complete, Supreme Commander, reported the science officer. The species calls themselves humans. They have achieved spaceflight and colonized their moon and the fourth planet. Technology level, mid-tier space age. Thax nodded, his violet skin reflecting the soft light of the bridge displays. The Empire had done this thousands of times before. Find a new species, demonstrate their superior technology, and welcome them into the fold. Sometimes there was token resistance, but it never lasted long. Send the standard greeting package, he ordered. On Earth, in the United Nations Space Command Center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Marcus watched the alien ship's arrival on multiple holographic displays. Unlike the panicked reactions many had expected when humanity finally met aliens, the room was eerily calm. "Signal incoming," announced the communications officer. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Marcus straightened his uniform, his weathered face illuminated by the screens. "Let's hear it." The message was typical of advanced civilizations, promises of peace, technology, and membership in their grand empire. But what caught Marcus' attention was what wasn't in the message: any mention of military strength or conquest. "Send our response package," Marcus ordered. "The one we prepared for this scenario." In the Empire ship, Thax's expression shifted from confidence to confusion as he watched the human response. Instead of the usual messages of awe or fear, the humans had sent what appeared to be historical records. "These must be corrupted files," Thax muttered as he watched scenes of human warfare scroll past. The images showed centuries of conflict, from ancient battles to modern warfare. Tanks rolling across deserts, ships clashing on vast oceans, aircraft engaging in aerial combat, and space skirmishes around Mars. Supreme Commander, his cultural advisor, stepped forward. "These appear to be authentic records. This species has spent their entire history fighting themselves." Thax's confusion deepened. Fighting themselves? But why? How have they survived? The answer came in the form of a direct communication request. When accepted, Admiral Marcus appeared on the main screen, his presence somehow filling the entire bridge despite being just an image. "Welcome to Earth space," Marcus said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of human military tradition. "We've reviewed your greeting and offer of Imperial membership." Thax performed the traditional Empire greeting gesture. "We are pleased to." "Before you continue," Marcus interrupted, something no species had ever dared to do. "I need to make something clear. Your empire has never faced a species like us. We have incorporated thousands of—" "No," Marcus cut in again, "you haven't. I studied your history, hidden in the data package you sent. Your empire has grown by finding primitive worlds and overwhelming them with your technology. You've never fought a real war." Thax felt a strange sensation he'd never experienced before. Unease. "We have faced resistance. You've faced protests, skirmishes, but you've never faced a species that has spent its entire existence preparing for war. A species that turns everything into a weapon. A species that looks at peace as just a time to prepare for the next conflict." The bridge fell silent as Marcus continued. "This is not a threat, Supreme Commander. This is a warning, given in good faith. If you attempt to conquer Earth, you will learn what real war is, and your empire will never be the same." Thax tried to regain his composure. "You cannot possibly. We've already mapped every weakness in your ship's design. We know exactly how to disable your weapons. We understood your entire military doctrine from just your greeting package." Marcus leaned forward. "So I'm giving you one chance, one warning that no other species has ever given you. Run." The transmission cut off, leaving the Empire bridge in stunned silence. For the first time in his long career, Supreme Commander Thax felt something ancient and primal. Fear. He had no way of knowing that humanity was just getting started. 3 days after first contact, the Empire requested a diplomatic meeting. They chose neutral ground, an orbital station above Mars. As the Empire delegation entered the conference room, they found Admiral Marcus standing before a large display screen, his hands clasped behind his back. "Welcome to Mars Station," he said, nodding to Supreme Commander Thax and his advisors. "Today, we're going to show you something important." The Empire delegates took their seats, their crystalline armor catching the red light from Mars below. Thax tried to hide his nervousness behind a diplomatic smile. "We are eager to learn more about your unique perspective on warfare." Marcus pressed a button, and the screen came to life. "This is World War II, just one of our many global conflicts." The Empire delegation watched in horror as scenes of massive tank battles played out. Thousands of vehicles clashing across vast landscapes. Huge fleets of ships and aircraft engaging in combat that dwarfed anything the Empire had ever seen. "Impossible," whispered the Empire's military advisor. "No species could survive such destruction." Marcus changed the footage. "This is the Cold War, when we learn to split atoms and turn them into weapons." The mushroom clouds rising over test sites made several Empire delegates flinch. Their own civilization had discovered atomic power, but they had never thought to weaponize it. "Your own historical records show no conflicts of this scale," Marcus continued. "Your empire grew by finding primitive worlds and overwhelming them with basic technology. You've never faced an enemy that could fight back, that could adapt, that could overcome." Thax stood up, his violet skin pale. "These are ancient records. Surely your species has evolved beyond." Marcus pressed another button. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a small black cube floating in space. "This is our latest weapon. We call it the Void Box. Would you like to see what it does?" Before Thax could answer, the hologram showed the cube approaching an asteroid. There was a brief flash, and the asteroid simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just empty space where it had been. "That was a small demonstration model," Marcus said quietly. "We have larger versions." The Empire's science advisor was frantically checking readings on his device. This breaks several laws of physics." "No," Marcus corrected him. "It breaks several laws of physics as you understand them. We've had a different teacher than you. Necessity. Every time we faced destruction, we found new ways to survive, new ways to fight, new ways to win." He walked around the table, looking each delegate in the eye. "Right now, your empire is preparing for war. Your ships are gathering at the edge of our system. Your spies are trying to infiltrate our networks. Your leaders are making plans based on how you've conquered other worlds." Thax tried to protest, but Marcus held up his hand. "Let me be clear about what will happen if you choose war," Marcus continued. "We will not just defeat you. We will not just destroy your military. We will fundamentally change how your empire thinks about warfare. And trust me, you don't want that lesson." He pressed one final button, and the room filled with holograms of human warships. Designs the Empire had never seen before. Weapons they couldn't understand. Defenses that seemed to defy their understanding of science. "This is your final warning," Marcus said. "The next time we meet, it won't be in a conference room. We won't be showing you historical footage or small demonstrations. We will show you why every human child learns about war before they learn about peace." The Empire delegation sat in stunned silence. Finally, Thax found his voice. "You would destroy our entire civilization." Marcus shook his head. "No. We would teach your civilization why we warned you to run. The choice is yours." As the Empire delegates hurried back to their ship, Marcus watched them go. His aide approached quietly. "Do you think they'll listen, sir?" Marcus smiled grimly. "No, they can't. Their empire is built on the idea that they're invincible. They'll have to learn the hard way." He turned to look at Mars, glowing red in the station's windows. "And we'll be ready when they do." On their ship, Fax was already preparing his report to the Empire Council. They wouldn't run. They couldn't. But for the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire was about to learn what real fear felt like. The Empire made its first move 1 week later. A fleet of 50 warships jumped into the solar system, positioning themselves between Earth and Mars. Their crystalline hulls formed a perfect battle line, just as they had done in thousands of previous conquests. In the UNSC Command Center, Admiral Marcus watched the formation with a slight smile. "Right on schedule," he said, turning to Commander Thompson at the tactical station. "They've taken the bait. Launch Operation Scatter." Only 5 human ships emerged from behind Mars' moons. The Empire commanders probably expected surrender at the sight of such overwhelming numbers. Instead, the human vessels did something no enemy had ever done before. They attacked first. "Sir," reported an Empire officer aboard the flagship, "the human ships are separating." Supreme Commander Fax watched in confusion as each human vessel split into 3 smaller ships. Then those split again. Within moments, what had been 5 ships became 60 smaller craft, all moving in completely random patterns. "Impossible," Fax muttered. "Their energy signatures are all identical. We can't tell which are real and which are decoys." The human ships darted between the Empire's perfect formation, their random movements making a mockery of the Empire's carefully planned tactics. When Fax ordered his ships to fire, their weapons found only empty space or holographic doubles. Multiple hull breaches reported across the fleet. An officer shouted, "They're using some kind of boring weapons, tiny machines eating through our armor." Marcus watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The nanite swarms were doing their job perfectly, chewing through the Empire's supposedly impenetrable crystal hulls. But that wasn't the real attack. "Execute Phase 2, he ordered. Aboard the Empire flagship, Fax was growing desperate. 15 of his ships were already crippled, their hulls compromised by the microscopic machines. Then something new appeared on their sensors. "Energy spike," his science officer called out. "Massive quantum disturbance." A sphere of absolute darkness appeared in the center of the Empire formation. Ships that touched its edge simply disappeared, just like the asteroid in the demonstration. The Void Box wasn't just a weapon, it was a battlefield control device. "Break formation," Fax ordered, but it was too late. His perfect battle line was now a weakness, ships unable to maneuver freely without colliding with each other. The human vessels, still splitting and recombining, herded the Empire ships toward the darkness like shepherds guiding sheep. "Sir," Commander Thompson reported to Marcus, "enemy fleet is at 60% strength and falling. Their command and control is breaking down." Marcus nodded. "Send the message." On every Empire ship, screens came to life with Admiral Marcus's face. "This is your last chance," he said calmly. "Retreat now, and we'll let you go. Stay, and we'll show you what else we've learned from 10,000 years of war." Fax stared at his tactical display in horror. His mighty fleet was being torn apart by just 5 human ships, or 60 ships, or however many there really were. His perfect tactics, rehearsed for centuries, were useless against an enemy that ignored all the rules of warfare. "All ships, emergency retreat," he ordered. "Jump to hyperspace immediately." The surviving Empire ships fled, leaving their crippled companions behind. As rescue shuttles approached the disabled vessels, they found crews that had never experienced real combat before, now shaking with fear at what they'd witnessed. In the command center, Commander Thompson turned to Marcus. "Think they got the message this time, sir?" Marcus shook his head. "No, this was just a test fleet. They wanted to see what we could do." He pointed to the long-range sensors showing massive Empire fleets gathering at the edges of human space. "Now they'll come with everything they have. And we'll be ready," Thompson said confidently. "No," Marcus corrected him. "We've been ready for thousands of years. They're the ones who need to prepare. He looked at the tactical display showing the disabled Empire ships. Because they just learned that war isn't about having the biggest fleet or the most perfect formation. It's about being willing to do whatever it takes to win. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was finally going to show the galaxy why they had warned the Empire to run. The Empire launched its full invasion 1 month after their first defeat. 5,000 ships appeared simultaneously across human space. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in the Empire's history. "Look at that formation," Commander Thompson said, watching the massive holographic display in the UNSC Command Center. "They still think numbers are everything." Admiral Marcus studied the enemy positions carefully. "They've learned a little. Notice how they're keeping their ships spread out this time. No tight formations for our void boxes to trap." The Empire's attack began with a massive wave of energy weapons fire, enough firepower to destroy a planet. But something strange happened. The energy beams passed right through the human defense platforms. In his flagship, Supreme Commander Thax realized the truth too late. Holograms. All of them are holograms. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're detecting new signals. They're coming from inside our fleet." Throughout the Empire Armada, thousands of tiny dots appeared on their sensors, each no bigger than a small shuttle. They had been hiding there all along, waiting. "Did you know?" Admiral Marcus's voice came through on all Empire channels, "that humans once won a war by hiding inside a wooden horse." "We like that story." The tiny dots suddenly expanded into full-size human warships. They had been there the whole time, using advanced stealth technology to compress their mass and energy signatures. Now they were in perfect position, right in the middle of the Empire fleet. Chaos erupted as Empire ships tried to turn their weapons inward, but they had positioned themselves to fire outward at the holographic defenses. Many ended up shooting their own ships in the confusion. "Launch the nanite swarms," Marcus ordered, "and activate the sleeper cells." Across Empire space, on their core worlds and major bases, hidden human agents began their work. Communication networks crashed. Power grids failed. Military computers displayed false information. The mighty Empire began to come apart from within. "Impossible," Thax shouted as reports flooded in. "How long have they been inside our territory?" "Since before you found us," Marcus's voice replied. "We've had years to study you, to learn your weaknesses, to place our agents. Did you think we would wait for you to attack before preparing our defense?" The battle in space turned into a slaughter. Human ships, now at their full size, unleashed weapons the Empire had never seen before. Missiles that could think and adapt to defensive measures. Energy beams that bent around shields. And something worse, weapons that targeted the minds of Empire crews. "Sir," Thompson reported to Marcus, "psychological warfare packages deployed. Enemy crews are experiencing fear and panic beyond their normal tolerance." Marcus nodded. The Empire had never developed defenses against such tactics. Their society had never needed to. Show them the final surprise. In the center of the battle, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive portal appeared, swirling with dark energy. Through it came more human ships. But these were different. Bigger, darker, more terrifying. "These," Marcus announced to the Empire fleet, "are our real warships. Everything you fought so far has been our light defense force." Thax stared in horror at the new arrivals. Their designs were wrong. All sharp angles and black surfaces that seemed to drink in light. They looked like they had been built by beings who understood war at a fundamental level. "All ships, retreat," Thax ordered. But it was too late. The human vessels had them surrounded, and the sleeper agents had disabled their hyperspace drives. In the UNSC Command Center, Thompson turned to Marcus. "Should we finish them?" Marcus shook his head. "No, leave them enough ships to run. We want them to report back what they've seen." He smiled grimly. "It's time for the Empire to understand that they're not fighting for territory anymore. They're fighting for survival." As the remains of the Empire fleet fled in panic, Marcus watched the tactical display. The real war hadn't even started yet. Soon, the Empire would learn why humans had spent their entire history preparing for this moment. 2 months into the war, the Empire's capital world was in chaos. Emergency alarms blared constantly. Military commands contradicted each other. Supply ships disappeared without trace. And worst of all, the fearless Empire soldiers were learning something new: doubt. Supreme Commander Thax stood before the Empire Council, his once proud uniform now worn and stained. "Our forces are in retreat across 17 sectors," he reported, his voice hollow. "We've lost contact with 30 colony worlds. And," he hesitated, "we still can't find their main fleet." The council chamber fell silent. The massive crystalline hall that had once symbolized the Empire's power now felt like a tomb. "How?" asked the head counselor, his ancient face lined with worry. "How can they be everywhere at once?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Every screen in the chamber suddenly lit up with Admiral Marcus's face. He wasn't broadcasting from somewhere. He was in their network, their most secure systems. "Would you like to know how?" Marcus asked calmly. "Look out your windows." The council rushed to the massive crystal windows overlooking the capital city. At first, they saw nothing unusual. Then, like a veil being lifted, the air itself seemed to shimmer. Hundreds of human ships appeared, hovering over the city. They had been there the whole time. "We've been here since the beginning," Marcus explained. "Watching, learning, preparing. Your entire defense network is under our control. Your weapons are locked down. Your shields." He paused as every planetary shield generator simultaneously deactivated, "are now offline." Thax drew his weapon, but found it dead in his hands. All Empire weapons had simply stopped working. "Now," Marcus continued, "let me show you something." A small demonstration of Project Phoenix. A single human ship descended from the fleet. It was different from the others, organic-looking, almost alive. As it approached, every piece of Empire technology in the city began to transform. Crystal structures reformed themselves. Vehicles changed shape. Even personal devices morphed in their owners' hands. "Your technology is based on crystal matrices," Marcus explained. "Ours learned to speak their language. Everything you built, every system you created, can be turned against you with a single command." The council watched in horror as their mighty capital transformed before their eyes. But instead of destroying their civilization, the human technology was improving it, making it stronger, more efficient. "This is what you never understood about humanity," Marcus said. "We don't just fight wars to destroy. We fight them to survive, to adapt, to grow stronger. And now we're going to teach you how to do the same." A hologram appeared in the center of the council chamber, a complete map of Empire space. Red dots showed human fleet positions. They were everywhere, in every major system, around every strategic point. "We mapped your entire empire years ago," Marcus revealed. "Every weakness, every flaw in your strategy, every gap in your defenses. We could have destroyed you the moment you entered our space. But that's not what humanity does. We don't want to destroy you. We want to make you stronger." Thax finally found his voice. "Why? Why show us mercy when you could eliminate us?" "Because," Marcus answered, "the galaxy is larger than you know. There are threats out there that make our war look like a children's game. You've never had to face them because you've never ventured into the dark spaces between the stars. We have. And what we found there," he paused, "is why we need you to learn what we know about war." The council members looked at each other, 10,000 years of certainty crumbling around them. "You have a choice," Marcus continued. "Keep fighting a war you've already lost, or join us in preparing for the real battles to come. The ones that will determine the fate of every species in this galaxy." In the silence that followed, the Empire leaders realized a truth that humanity had known for millennia. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy, but turning them into your strongest ally. The war was ending. The real challenges were about to begin. The news spread across Empire space like a shockwave. Their capital world had surrendered to the humans without a single shot being fired. But that wasn't what scared Empire citizens the most. It was the video showing their mighty crystal towers reshaping themselves, their technology evolving before their eyes. In the transformed council chamber, Supreme Commander Thax watched as Admiral Marcus walked among the Empire leaders, teaching them things their civilization had never considered. "Your battle formations are perfect," Marcus explained, pointing to a holographic display. "Too perfect. That's why they fail. Real warfare isn't about perfection. It's about adaptation." Several Empire worlds had already requested human protection. Their leaders had seen the changes on the capital world, had witnessed their technology becoming something new and powerful under human guidance. They wanted the same. "Sir," Commander Thompson reported to Marcus, "the last holdout fleet has been located. Admiral Reed's task force has them surrounded." Marcus nodded. The remaining Empire ships were led by hardliners who refused to accept the new reality. They had gathered their forces for one final battle, not realizing they were playing directly into human hands. "Show them what a real fleet looks like," Marcus ordered. In deep space, the rebel Empire fleet faced what they thought was their moment of glory. 500 ships, ready to die for the old ways. Then space itself seemed to crack open around them. Through massive quantum portals came the true might of humanity's military. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands, each one powered by technology that made the Empire's finest vessels look like children's toys. "This is Admiral Reed," a new voice announced to the rebel fleet. "You are surrounded by the combined human defense force. Your weapons have already been disabled by our Phoenix protocols. You have one chance to power down your ships and surrender." The rebel commander, an old guard Empire officer named High General Vax, sneered at the human ships. "We will never, sir." His voice cut off as every system on his ship suddenly shut down. Across his entire fleet, crystal ships transformed, systems changed, and weapons disappeared. In less than 5 minutes, the last resistance of the old Empire became part of the new. Back on the capital world, Marcus showed the Council something they had never seen before, a map of the entire galaxy, not just their known space. "These red zones," he explained, pointing to vast dark areas between the stars, "are where we've detected them, the things that live in the void, the real enemy." The Council members stared in horror at the scale of what Marcus showed them. Their empire, which they had thought so vast, was tiny compared to the threats that lurked in the darkness. "This is why we didn't destroy you," Marcus continued. "This is why we're teaching you instead of conquering you, because humanity learned long ago that the strongest shield is an ally who knows how to fight." Fax, who had once commanded fleets against the humans, now understood. "You didn't just defeat us," he said quietly. "You made us stronger." "Exactly," Marcus replied. "Every piece of technology we transformed, every tactic we taught you, every change we made, it was all preparation, not for our war, but for what's coming." The Empire's greatest engineers were already working with human scientists, learning the principles behind Project Phoenix. Their crystal technology, combined with human innovation, was creating defenses stronger than either civilization could have built alone. "Sir," Thompson called out, "final reports are in. All Empire military forces have either surrendered or been transformed. The war is officially over." Marcus looked at the galactic map, at the darkness moving between the stars. "No, Commander. The war hasn't even started yet, but now we have allies who understand what it means to fight." He turned to the Council. "Your empire was built on the idea of perfection. We're going to teach you something better, how to evolve, adapt, and overcome. Because out there in the dark, perfection dies. Only those who can change will survive." The empire had fallen, but from its ruins, something new was rising. a force that would help humanity face the true threats that lurked in the void between the stars. 6 months after the Empire's surrender, the capital world had become unrecognizable. Crystal towers now pulsed with living energy, streets buzzed with transformed vehicles that could think and adapt, and in orbit, a combined fleet of human and Empire ships trained for the real war to come. Admiral Marcus stood at the window of his new office in the Joint Defense Command Center, watching Empire crews learning human combat tactics. Below him, former Supreme Commander Thax, now his second-in-command, studied battle plans with Commander Thompson. The outer sensor networks picked up another void signature, Thax reported, pointing to a dark spot on their stellar map. Bigger than the last one. They're getting bolder. Marcus nodded. The things that lived between the stars were noticing the changes in Empire space. The transformation of a peaceful civilization into a warrior culture had caught their attention. "Show me the latest Phoenix upgrades," Marcus ordered. Thompson activated a hologram showing the newest developments. Empire crystal technology, guided by human military innovation, had evolved beyond what either civilization thought possible. Ships that could heal themselves, weapons that learned from every battle, and defensive systems that adapted to any attack. The Empire crews are learning fast, Thompson noted. Their natural talent for perfection, combined with our tactical flexibility, it's creating something entirely new. A junior officer rushed into the room. "Sirs, we've lost contact with Deep Space Station 7. The void, something's coming through." The three commanders exchanged looks. This was what they had been preparing for. Marcus pressed a button on his desk, and alarms sounded across all former Empire space. "All fleets to battle stations," he ordered. "Initiate Phoenix Protocol Alpha. This is not a drill." In orbit, the combined fleet moved with practiced precision. Empire ships formed their traditional crystal formations, but now these patterns could shift and adapt like living things. Human vessels took up random, unpredictable positions around them, creating a defense that was both perfect and chaotic. "Remember when we first contacted you?" Marcus asked Thax as they watched the fleet deploy. "When we warned you to run?" Thax smiled grimly. "We thought you were barbarians, primitives who only knew how to fight." He looked at the transformed Empire ships, now among the most powerful vessels in known space. "We didn't understand that was exactly what we needed to become." The void signature grew larger on their sensors. Something massive was emerging from the darkness between stars, something that had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. "All ships, battle positions," Marcus commanded. "This is what humanity has prepared for since we first looked up at the stars. This is what the Empire has trained for since we showed them the truth about war." The thing from the void emerged fully into normal space. It was enormous, defying the laws of physics, its very presence making reality shiver around it. But instead of finding easy prey, it faced something unprecedented. Two civilizations united, one tempered by eternal war, the other perfected by endless peace, now combined into something new. "Target locked," Thompson reported. "All ships report ready. The Phoenix systems are adapting to the void entity's presence." Marcus stood straight, his voice carrying to every ship, every crew member, human and Empire alike. "This is why we warned you to run that first day," he said to Thax. "Not because we wanted to defeat you, but because we needed you to become what you are now. Warriors who understand both perfection and chaos." Thax nodded, understanding at last. "And now we face the real enemy together." "All ships," Marcus ordered, "engage the void entity. Show it why humanity spent its history learning to fight, and why the Empire learned to run when we warned them." He smiled. "Because now we stand together, and nothing in the void can stand against us." As the combined fleet moved to engage the ancient horror from between the stars, Marcus watched with pride. Humanity had found not just an ally, but a companion in the eternal battle against the darkness. The Empire had learned why humans warned them to run that first day. And now, together, They would teach the Void why that warning had been so important.